Usually, I start my talk as I say good evening to the audience or congregation in the assembly hall in the Tsukiji Hongwanji in Tokyo. But this time, I see nobody right in front of me on the floor. So I have no idea at all who are listening to me, where they are, and what time they are watching me. I have no idea those who are listening to me are Buddhist or not. Anyway, what I meant is to deliver my best wishes to people who happen to listen to me, to my Dharma talk in this age of the Corona pandemic. I'm not a political commentator, nor a medical specialist. I'm just a Buddhist priest who was born in a Buddhist temple and has studied Buddha's teachings some 60 years. But I'm afraid I have learned only little of the Buddha's teachings. So I have no specialist knowledge of the coronavirus. I don't know how to deal with the present troublesome situation of the pandemic in the world. As a matter of fact, however, I do understand that we are being in trouble because of the corona pandemic. I'd like to talk about something useful for the listeners who worry about the coronavirus. But my talk is a Dharma talk, not a medical talk. What is a Dharma talk? Is it useful to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, or as some people refer to it, as infodemic or pandemic? Before I talk about the Dharma talk, let me quote one anecdote. I think some people know this anecdote. Anyway, in the 6th century, there was a Buddhist monk in South India. His name is Bodhidharma. I believe many people know the name Bodhidharma because in Japan you have Dharma dolls. Anyway, the Bodhidharma went all the way to China to deliver Buddha's message. And he was invited to meet with the then Chinese emperor. And the emperor asked Bodhidharma, if I believed in Buddha's teachings, what benefits could I expect to gain? Then, could you guess how Bodhidharma answers? Bodhidharma flatly answered, no benefits. The emperor must have expected some concrete benefits from listening to the Buddha's teachings and building Buddhist temples. That's why Bodhidharma replied, no benefits. But I wonder if the emperor believed in Buddha's teachings, and unless he built a Buddhist temple, what benefits could he have gained? Anyway, from my Dharma talk, I hope you don't expect much. You don't expect such practical benefits as dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. What is Dharma? Dharma is a Sanskrit word which has many definitions. Usually, when I find a difficult Sanskrit word, I check it up in a Sanskrit English dictionary. In my small study, I have a Sanskrit English dictionary. It was such a huge book, very thick, edited by Monia Williams. Anyway, I checked it up. I checked the word, Dharma, and there are many definitions. The very basic definition is Dharma means that which is established. And there are some more definitions. Law, duty, virtue, religion, etc., etc. Anyway, the term Dharma means so many meanings. However, by the Dharma, I mean Buddha Dharma, or the Dharma which was realized by Gautama Buddha some 2,500 years ago. The essence of Buddha Dharma is called, again, sorry, I have to quote Sanskrit word, Pratitya Samutpada, which means dependent origination. There are many definitions in English, but one of them is dependent origination, or my definition is dynamic interrelatedness of things. Dynamic interrelatedness of things. That's my definition of the Sanskrit word, Pratitya Samutpada. According to the Buddha's way of thinking, what is working in history is a dynamic interrelatedness of karma. Karma means actions, visible or invisible, or mental or physical. Any action is karma. I am a karma. I am a karma. As I live in the age of the internet, I think it may be easier for us to understand the dynamic interrelatedness of things and people. And as I use my computer and send emails and receive emails from around the world, so I'm very happy to live in the age of the internet. Many centuries ago, we couldn't imagine how we are interrelated, but because of the internet, we can understand how we are interrelated. I feel all the people in the world are interrelated because of the internet. And you can express your opinions to many readers in various parts of the world, and can expect to get feedback from them. I do feel I am connected to not only people known to me, but also people unknown to me. In this regard, I appreciate the age of the internet in which I live. By the way, this is between you and me, but I don't know who you are, but anyway, between you and me. In a couple of weeks ago, can you imagine, I have received an email from who? Mr. Trump. I never expected receiving an email from him. It's not a fake news. And shortly after that, I received another email from, can you guess who? Trump Jr. I was surprised, but it's not a fake news. How did they attain my email address? But now I understand, it's nothing mysterious. Everything is interrelated. Our addresses are being exchanged. Anyway, it's very interesting. And I have never supported Mr. Trump in any means. I'm not an American. Anyway, this is not a fake news. And we live in such a funny, interesting internet world. Now back to the subject matter. Sometimes I hear someone says, history repeats itself. I don't think so. History never repeats itself according to the law of karma, according to the law of pratitya samutpada, or the dynamic interrelatedness of things and being. Everything is changing. I am not the same person. Yesterday I was such a person. Today I am such a person like here. But what I was yesterday is different from what I am now. And what I will be tomorrow will be different from what I am, because everything is changing, everything interrelated. And anyway, we have had many epidemics and endemics in the past human history. However, we have never experienced such a pandemic as we are now experiencing around the world. Political confusions, social turmoils, economic crises, natural disasters are all interrelated into each other as they create a variety of angst in various parts of the world. And the coronavirus pandemic is kind of like an invisible web in which we are being trapped. In Japan, as you get on the train or buses or use public transportation service, you will see almost all passengers wearing face masks, using iPhones. The announcements on the train say, please passengers, please refrain from talking. What? We are not allowed to talk on the train. This is an unusual thing we have never experienced in the past history, because everything is changed. History never repeats itself. Both the internet and the coronavirus pandemic demonstrate the nature of connectivity of people and things. And at the same time, while the internet works for more and more interrelatedness of people and things, the coronavirus pandemic is likely to neglect the close relationship among human beings due to social distancing. Almost all opinions of politicians, political and medical commentators seems to be conflicting, and I am at a loss. I believe almost all the people around the world are at a loss. Who is telling the truth? Very difficult to understand what is actually occurring in the world. What do you think? Anyway, I cannot listen to your voice. Anyway, the interrelatedness of karma taught by Buddha teaches us we are not living all alone, but living with other living beings in a systemic manner. I'm at a loss, and I believe many people are at a loss to understand what we should do in case we got infected. To talk about my personal affair, last March, not last year, I suffered pneumonia, but I was afraid if I had pneumonia this year, I would have been very worried. Anyway, I am happy again. I'm happy again. I'm always happy, and I'm always unhappy. From time to time, I change. I'm happy to listen to Buddha's basic message of the dynamic interrelatedness of people and things that we live with other living beings, being helped by them. And if we ignore this law, we would have to suffer. There are many two ways of living. One way of living is to live towards avidya. There is also a Sanskrit word. Avidya means ignorance. A means negative particle. Vidya means knowledge. Avidya means ignorance. Avidya means ignorance of Buddha's wisdom or lack of understanding of the nature of things and people. And what is most important to accept Buddha's wisdom is to reflect upon myself, not to talk about other people's, but reflect upon myself. In other words, to distance myself from what I am. To reflect upon myself, I'd like to quote a passage of Macbeth by Shakespeare and one of Rennyo's letters. Shakespeare, I believe everybody knows the name, and Macbeth, maybe people in the West know this masterpiece by Shakespeare. I've read Macbeth 3 times. I'm a student of Buddhist studies, but I am a student of George Orwell. You know George Orwell? He authored a very famous 2 books. One of them is The Animal Farm. The other is 1984. I've been reading George Orwell's works more than 40 years. I've read all his literary works and his diary, everything. So, and Macbeth is one of the Shakespeare works George Orwell most appreciated. So that's why I quote Macbeth. And from first, I'd like to quote a very famous summing up of life and death, which Macbeth gave near the end of his life. Macbeth heard his wife was dead, and his monologue. This is a very famous passage. I will read. She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow, tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. What about the coronavirus pandemic? Isn't it a tale told by demagogues, full of sound and fury, fake news and disinformation? I don't know at all. I'm not a political commentator, not a medical specialist. As a matter of fact, so many people are suffering. I do understand. Now, let me read Rennyo's original letter in Japanese, then English translation. それ人間の不祥なるそうつらつら感ずるにおよそ儚きものはこの世の始終中幻のごとくなるいちごなりさればいまだ漫才の人間の受けたりということを聞かず一生過ぎやすし今に至って誰か100年の業態を保つべきや我や先人や先今日とも知らず明日とも知らず遅れ先立つ人は元の雫末の梅雨よりもしげしと言えりされば下には湖岸があって夕べには白骨となれる身なりすでに無常の風来たり濡ればすなわち二つの眼をたちまちに閉じ一つの息長く耐えぬれば湖岸むらしく返じて通りの装いを失いぬるときは六神眷属集まって嘆き悲しめどもさらにその甲斐あるべからずさてしもあるべきことならねばとて野外に送って弱の煙となし果てぬればただ白骨の溝残れり哀れというもなかなか愚かなりされば人間の儚きことは老少不良の境なれば誰の人も早く五章の一大事を心にかけて阿弥陀仏を深く頼み参らせて念仏申すべきものなりあなかしこあなかしこ Now let me read the English translation. When I deeply contemplate the transient nature of human existence, I realize that from beginning to end, life is impermanent, like an illusion. We have not yet heard of anyone who lived 10,000 years. How fleeting is a lifetime. Who in this world today can maintain a human form for even 100 years? There is no knowing whether I will die first or others, whether death will occur today or tomorrow. We depart one after another more quickly than the dewdrops on the roots or the tips of the blades of grasses. So it is said. Hence, we may have radiant faces in the morning, but by evening, we may turn into white ashes. Once the winds of impermanence have blown, our eyes are instantly closed and our breath stops forever. Then our radiant face changes its color, and the attractive countenance like peach and plum is lost. Family and relatives will gather and grieve, but all to no avail. Since there is nothing else that can be done, they carry the deceased out to the fields, and then what is left after the body has been cremated and turned into morning smoke is just white ashes. Words fail to describe the sadness of it all. Thus, the ephemeral nature of human existence is such that death comes to young and old alike, without discrimination. So we should all quickly take to heart the matter of the greatest importance of the afterlife, or the importance of meaning of death. Entrust ourselves deeply to Amida Buddha and say Namo-Amidabutsu. Why I read Macbeth and the letter of white ashes by Rennyo is because I think we need to review our life and the world from time to time and ponder the life of eternity beyond this temporal life. Every day we are so attached to this temporal life. In Buddhism, Namo-Amidabutsu is the way of living beyond this temporal life as we live in this temporal life. Amida Buddha, or the Buddha of unmeasured light and infinite life. Amida Buddha is some cosmic working of awakening, or the source from which Gautama Buddha's awakening originates. Many people, some people wonder what's the relationship between Shakyamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha. My awareness or understanding is Amida Buddha is the source from which Gautama Buddha's awakening originates. And Namo-Amidabutsu means both Namo-Amidabutsu Buddhaya and Namo-Amidabutsu Buddhaya in Sanskrit. And in Buddhism, Namo-Amidabutsu, Amitabha means the Buddha of infinite light, unmeasured light. And Amitayuse means, Amitayuse Buddha means the Buddha of eternal life. In Buddhism, light is a symbol of wisdom, and life, the symbol of compassion. The verb of Namo, this is very important. Namo-Amidabutsu we say, but what does Namo mean? Namo means, in Sanskrit, it comes from the verb Nam. Namo means to bend. So if you bend your body, you bow. And if you bow, it means respect or submit oneself. And in the Western culture, they shake hands to make friends. Let's shake hands and make friends. But in the Eastern culture, we bow. What does bowing mean? Is bow. Bow is bowing. You bend your body like this and show respect to others. But try to understand, bowing in this dangerous life is the most defenseless posture. If you bow, if you have an enemy, they will kill you instantly. It's completely different from shaking hands. Bow is, I submit myself, I respect. It's the most defenseless posture. So this is the very basic meaning of bow. So Namo means I wholeheartedly take refuge in the Amida Buddha. We cannot remove darkness on our own, but when light comes, darkness disappears. If you live in a dark room, if you want to try to dispel darkness, in any way you cannot dispel darkness. But when light comes into the room, darkness disappears instantly. Now we are living in the age of the coronavirus pandemic, but what we should really afraid of is not the pathogen named the coronavirus, but the darkness of our mind. Once I read a poem by Robert Frost. I think he is one of the most famous American poets. He wrote a very famous poem, Mending the Wall, and I still remember the last phrase. Robert Frost says, "Good fences make good neighbors." Whenever I read this passage, good fences make good neighbors. Do you think so? How do you interpret this phrase? Good fences make neighbors. But I do believe there shouldn't be the fence of discriminating mind among people. In this age of the coronavirus pandemic, we should not make fences between our minds. My concluding message is, don't live in the darkness at night. Just live towards Buddha's light of wisdom. Namo-Amidabutsu.